It's the summer before my freshman year of high school. It's 1989. I'm 14 years old. Batman is in theaters. It is the best summer ever. This particular night, I'm at my friend Brian's house. Brian's my best friend. Now, most of my life, I'd always been a pretty shy kid, kind of nerdy, pretty insecure. Brian had all the confidence that I lacked. Sometimes he would help me out with that. Sometimes he would be like the Ferris Bueller to my Cameron. And this particular night, we're just hanging out. I'm planning on sleeping over. And his older brother is there, Dan. Now, Dan is 16 years old, kind of a big guy, kind of stocky. My parents don't want me to have anything to do with Dan. They say Dan is bad news. He's rebellious. He bullies his younger brother a lot. He's pretty much a dick to their mom, who's raising them on her own. Troubled is probably a good word. Not exactly accomplished in school. I, on the other hand, think Dan is pretty frickin' cool. He has a driver's license. He goes to parties. He has sex with girls. And that's all it takes for 14-year-old me to think Dan is cool. So we're hanging out at Brian's house. And Brian's mom is going to go see a movie with some friends of hers. So they come and pick her up. And as she's leaving, she leaves the car with Dan, but she leaves us with instructions to behave ourselves. Now, she leaves. Her friend's car drives off. And Dan turns around and he looks at us. And this is pretty much an exact quote. He says, "Hey, you guys want to come party down with me and my friends?" Well, I didn't want to get in trouble, but I had seen enough 80s movies to know what partying down meant. It meant good things. It meant crazy hijinks and the possibility of sexual escapades. And after an utterly miserable junior high school experience, I'd already been thinking, maybe this summer, going into high school is my opportunity to reinvent myself. And now I'm thinking, maybe this is where it starts. So of course we're gonna go party down with Dan and his friends. So we hop in the family Suburban and we drive to this party. It's at some girl's house. Her parents are out of town or something. We walk in, lights are really dim. I smell stale beer and liquor. There's music playing, and there's people making out in dark corners. It is everything I had imagined a high school party would be. So we go in. Brian and I sit down in the living room. Dan wanders off, and now we don't know anybody there. And I should mention, these are not the cool kids. You know, these are not the varsity athletes, whatever. These are the rebels, the renegades. They're not thinking about the future. They're thinking about partying and fucking shit up tonight. And I am completely unprepared for this environment. So we just sit there, Brian and I. And I'd mentioned that Brian has all the confidence that I lack, but it becomes clear very quickly he doesn't know what to do any more than I do. They're playing the latest CD from Erasure, and we're just sitting there, and I'm just kind of tapping my hand, and Brian leans over, "Don't do that." And I look over at him, and I see he's tapping his foot to the music. I'm like, you don't know. You don't know any better than I do what's cool. And now we're starting to argue over, are we cool? Are we not cool? Do we know anybody here? Why are we here? And right about then is when somebody notices us, and perhaps this was inevitable, and they go, "Hey, let's get the freshmen drunk." And someone drags us both into the kitchen, and we're introduced to mixed drinks like vodka and Sprite, vodka and Kool-Aid, and vodka and whatever, I don't know what this is, just fucking drink it, kid. And now it has become the greatest night of my life. I am so dizzy that I'm having an amazing time. And from being invisible in the living room. We are now the lives of this party. I'm making so many friends that I will not remember ever later. But I'm now thinking maybe high school really could be this just never-ending epic party booze fest. But deep down, we are still responsible kids. And at some point, one of us notices the clock. And we remember, wait, that movie Brian's mom was going to started at 8. It's now 11. Yeah, we should call her. So we go find a relatively quiet room with a phone, and we call Brian's house. Brian's on the phone with his mom, and he says, yeah, we're over at Dan's friend's house watching a movie. And then he quickly hangs up the phone, looks at me, and says, she wants us to come home right now. So we go find Dan. Fortunately, Dan is not otherwise occupied with anything that would keep him from driving us home. So we hop in the car. He drives us back to the house. And as we're getting out of the car, he says, hey, after Mom goes to bed, give me a call, and I'll come back and pick you up, bring you back to the party. And we were like, thank you. We could still party more. Yes. So we go inside, and I should mention that we are shit-faced. And Brian's mom is standing there. She's like, how was the movie at Dan's friend's house? And we're doing everything in our power to act sober, which is a matter of standing completely still and letting the whole world just spin around you. And we say, it's fine. And I'm starting to get confidence in my ability to fake being sober. And Brian's mom's like, well, I'm really tired. I'm going to go to bed. But first, I want you to empty all the dishes out of the sink and put them in the dishwasher. I don't know if she was doing that to fuck with us or if that was just a chore. I don't know. But we pick up every dish and very carefully put it in the dishwasher, breaking none of them. At some point, his mom goes to bed, and we feel a great sense of accomplishment. But finally, she's in bed, so we give Dan a call. And remember, it's 1989, so by give Dan a call, I mean we pull out the high school phone directory, remember what that girl's name is, find her home phone number, call that, somebody answers, is Dan there? Maybe, I don't know. Well, could you go look for him? So eventually Dan gets on the phone. And I didn't hear exactly what he said, but Brian has the phone. He says, hey, Dan, Mom's asleep. Can you come pick us up? And he hangs up the phone. He says, yeah, Dan's not coming. And we're still drunk off our asses, but we are not happy with this. We have been to a high school party. Gone are the shy, insecure, awkward, incoming high school freshmen. We have had a sample of that golden ring that is a high school party, and we will not be denied. So we are determined. So we do what seems like the most logical thing to do in that moment. We start walking. Well, first we pull the high school directory back out, look up her address, try to figure out where that is. We remember where it is, and then out we go. It's 2 miles away, which we didn't really appreciate when we first started walking. That's a pretty long way to walk at any point, but when it's a little after midnight, you're 14 years old, and you're still completely shit-faced, it's a very long way to walk. We also don't know exactly how to get there, but we eventually get there at around 1 a.m. And the house is dark. It's quiet. We ring the doorbell. Nothing happens. Maybe they moved on somewhere else. Maybe they just all went home. But it's clear that there will be no more partying for us after that. I should mention that we are stone cold sober at this point, and we have some regrets. And I start to wonder, did Dan bring us to that party because he wanted to show us a good time? Did all those other people get us drunk so that we would enjoy the party, or did they do it to amuse themselves? Did they find something else to amuse themselves after we were gone and they moved on? I guess we'll never know. But I am starting to think maybe this isn't how I want to reinvent myself. I think about Dan and his friends and how I get along with them when I'm sober. And I remember I don't like them. They're not nice. So maybe I should keep looking to reinvent myself. But anyway, that's all just kind of going on in the back of my head. At the front of my head are two main thoughts. One, maybe my parents were right. Maybe Dan really is bad news. And two, we still have to walk 2 miles to get back to Brian's house to go to sleep. Thank you.